Oh, definitely.
So,
that's why I was saying, not a political figure, definitely an entertainer. He talks
Right.
about the fact that he kind of loves, if not trolling, really pissing people off
Right.
and really aggravating. I'm sure he also thinks of that as destroying inaccurate views and challenging views that are kind of held by a large cohort of people, even though he thinks they're wrong. So it's his job to go in and challenge them.
Right.
He's definitely someone, I assume, who really believes his kind of right-leaning politics and believes that's the better route for the country, so wants to see that enacted, and he's out there championing it all the time. He's also commodified himself. I mean, he's the Ben Shapiro show.
Right, and he does 3-hour-long episodes of his own show as well. I mean, he has a lot of content, and I think he puts it out daily.
Yeah. I thought just one of the things I found just a little humorous was that during the Russell Brand episode, he was there to promote a book, which I really got the sense that Joe Rogan did not want him to promote.
I mean, Joe Rogan was not helping him promote it. I'll give you that.
Question.
Yeah, Russell Brand really had to keep saying, well, my book, if you read and I think my book really allows people to free themselves of X, Y, and Z and help them live a more fulfilled life. And Joe Rogan finally kind of called him on it at the end. I was thinking, well, you haven't helped him too much. But I got to say, in most interviews, they don't. They'll kind of start with, he's got a great new book out. They'll sometimes throw it. I read your book and I really liked the part about, and that's about it. And in 3 hours, that's probably all Joe Rogan was going to do. And I think he didn't even do that. But goddamn, Russell Brand he was hitting it about every 15 minutes.
Well, here's the thing, though, is that what it seemed like to me is that, so Russell Brand goes, fuck money. I don't like money. I don't want to make any money. And Joe Rogan goes, no, money's great. It helps to provide all kinds of different things and pushes things. And then when Russell Brand finally comes around and goes, oh, yeah, maybe I should mention that I'm on a book tour and I'm trying to sell my book. And it seemed like sort of chagrined about the whole experience. I think that's why Joe Rogan seemed to be pushing or reacting so hard. But I think you guys are right. I think Joe Rogan doesn't give a shit about promoting a product.
No, I don't think he does.
He just wants to talk to people.
That was a very funny turnaround in the last few minutes where he said, you're so against commodifying everything and making money that you're pushing this book. What are you selling this book for?
Yeah.
And, Russell Brand joked back with him like, all right, well, I didn't think you were going to bring that up. And I mean, it was both funny, somewhat uncomfortable. I mean, it's a correct observation on Joe Rogan's part, certainly.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, he could say, oh, I just thought it would be for the betterment of humanity. But in that case, he put it for free online, I suppose, would have made it available to the world. So, yes, in the end, I guess it's that distinction that our modern era has to wrestle with, which is, hey, heads of companies are taking far more risk than anyone else in the company. The company exists to employ people, to sell products, and get the economy moving because of that guy at the top, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, all of which is true. We can't really argue with that. Mm-hmm. Now, that person may be someone who is incredibly self-made and pulled themselves up from nowhere. Right. Or it could have been someone who had a $30 million loan from their parents. It's hard to know. But all those things are otherwise true of that CEO, of the guy at the top. And so it ends up being, I think, for our society, a question of scale. If someone says, that guy's taking way more risk than anyone else, they've created all these jobs by creating this company, and as a result, they make 29 times more than the base employee's salary.
Right.
And you go, I'm comfortable with that. He should make it. And I'd go, yeah, I agree.
Right.
If they go, well, it's 2018 and the average CEO of a Fortune 500 company makes 328 times, you might go, okay, I agreed with that original argument that they're shouldering the risk, they're creating the company, they're creating the jobs. That seems like a little too much.
Right.
What do you do with all that wealth when you've reached such a high level and then it gets even higher and higher? And that's kind of, I think, what we have to struggle with. And it illustrates that the questions are rarely easy ones.
Right, yeah.
The question of, should that guy make more, is an easy one. Almost everyone will go, yeah, that person should make more. That's totally fair. Then it ends up being, if it's this much more, do you start to think, maybe he could do a little better by some of his lower level employees, make their lives a little bit better, kick a little bit back, or a higher quality product. Doughboys, a show we covered, they talked about that min-max idea.
Right.
But when Ray Kroc took over, it was get the quality of food lower and lower and lower to maximize profits and get employee payment low. And that idea that okay, again, we have this more difficult idea here. It's not should they make more, but that much more. I think that's what Russell Brand was talking about, that idea, because he does bringing it up at some point of when you've made so much money. If you've already got $30 million, if you've got $130 million personally, how much more do you need? How much better does your life
so
get?
Much money that you've bought all the boats. Because that's, to me, that's the indicator.
You can't have any more yachts.
If you got all the boats, man, you're good.
And I think
call it a day.
Those are the tough questions. Definitely during the, to be fair, I mean, both sides, Russell Brand episode and the Ben Shapiro, I heard a lot of those ideas where it was the very easy question with the very easy answer. And I kept, as a listener, going, well, that's actually not where we sit as a society, because if that was the question, the answer, you're right, is an easy one.
And that's the thing that I thought was that Joe Rogan, because he wants to keep things moving, because he doesn't want to stop, because the truth of the matter is if you get too deep into something, you get entrenched, and then you just talk the same points over and over and over again. And it seemed like he always wanted to, and I don't know if you felt this way, Doug, but like when we listened to the Jonathan Van Ness, like Jonathan Van Ness Getting Curious, do you remember that?
Yes, of course.
It's like the shallowest version of this kind of interview podcast, or like I want to find out information. And Joe Rogan goes a little bit deeper, but he still doesn't go like, he's not. I don't know if he's going to bring on an economist and talk about the effects of supply side change, and think about the equations that are involved. Because I also think is that Russell Brand talked about him being a libertarian,
right?
And I also think that Joe Rogan probably likes having a soapbox.
Right.
He's the kind of guy who likes telling his opinion to other people and having this big microphone to do it.
I'd argue that the three of us do as well. That's why we're here, or we'd be having the same exact conversation off mic.
I'm doing this for the good of the people.
Absolutely.
I want people to know they can listen to a scant hour and a half to figure out how good a podcast is.
Sure. I mean, a super tight, efficient hour and a half.
Incredibly tight.
I'm doing this actually just to push my book, guys.
Yeah. Oh, what's the name of your book?
It's Cooking for One. It's called. It's a book on sad culinary technique.
Microwave cooking.
No, it's just
for one on a Friday night.
It's foods that you can eat off a napkin, standing in your kitchen over the sink in your underwear.
How is it selling?
But
you know what? Don't push the book.
Surprisingly poorly.
Don't push the book.
Brandon, I'm not. Oh, good, Doug. Brandon, I'm not selling this book for money. I find that offensive.
What are you selling it for?
Love.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, you're like.
Brandon, so I can make cooking for two.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So I think but we talked about this, that oddly, because they're exceedingly different people, we saw some real parallels between
surprising
Jonathan
similarities.
Van Ness and Joe Rogan. That they're both like, tell me about this. I heard about that. There were moments where Joe Rogan somewhat was bewildering Ben Shapiro with his questions. Like this, where he was rattling off different people that he wanted to know if Ben Shapiro thought had people killed.
But do you think it's ever happened in the United States or just in Russia?
Like political assassinations?
Yes.
I can't name a specific example of where it has. I think that's...
Are you open to the possibility?
I'm open to... I mean, if someone shows
like
me
Lyndon
evidence...
Johnson. You think Lyndon Johnson could whack somebody?
I don't think Lyndon Johnson whacked anybody.
What about Kennedy?
I don't think that Kennedy whacked anybody.
What about Hillary?
I don't think Hillary whacked anybody.
If I had my last $1,000, I'd be super tempted to bet on black.
I also noticed, and this was true of a lot of things in that episode, all Democrats in that list.
Yes. Mainly because Republicans never do anything evil.
Absolutely.
According to Ben Shapiro.
Yes. Now, I found a few different kind of one-sided things like that. I didn't count, but I'm just going to put a rough number on this. As they talked about, justifiably so, the left-leaning media, right-leaning media, that we know that you're going to get this kind of information from this news, as opposed to just pure neutral journalistic. And they talked, it was a lot of what Ben Shapiro does, which is these ideas are so stupid, and these people have stopped thinking, and these people are kind of sheep. I'd say CNN was referenced. It couldn't have been fewer than 70 or 80 times. The letter CNN
times.
And Fox News was referenced 0 times. If you're going to talk about utter nonsense and bullshit, you can absolutely throw stones at MSNBC and CNN. You have to save about half your stones for Fox.
Right. I mean,
just to be fair. And that is Ben Shapiro's thing. It's like, hey, man, I'll criticize both sides. I'll criticize the right as well. I didn't feel that was lived as much during those 3 hours as he claims to live that.
I'm curious to know what kind of ties he has to Fox.
Right.
Because maybe it's one of those. I'm not going to bite that hand that feeds. Maybe
Maybe
paid well to
my
be a
gut feeling was
contributor.
that's just that he sees less fault there
Or he
because
drank
he
the
agrees more with
bathwater
it.
so strong, like Kool-Aid rather.
Yeah, I think so. And I do, that's where, and that's totally fine. That's where his politics lay.
Right. As we said, he's an entertainer. He's not a political
Totally,
figure.
he's an entertainer. But part of his shtick is the kind of I'm a fair and balanced dude.
Right.
I am.
I call him like I see him.
I call him like I see him, right. And there are guys out there who say that and really do, like guys who are far more
Doug,
liberal leaning.
for example.
Doug calls it like he sees him, no doubt about it. We've always said that.
He's a man who
One
shoots
of our
both
nation's-
barrels of truth.
Absolutely. He'll shoot him right in your fucking face. He'll shoot him into your face like Dick Cheney and make you apologize for it. So I thought that was kind of that's one of the reasons I said, did you hear him challenge him once? Because there were lots of things where there could have just on purely factual basis been a little pushback.
Right.
And again, save a few of your stones for Fox News. We're going to talk about,
Right.
I mean, really pandering, ridiculous, fear-mongering news. What it reminded me most of was what I called the October 2016 effect, because it happened again and again in front of me. Someone walking up, literally at a party, whatever, particularly with that huge election coming up.
Right.
And it was so ridiculous in many ways. I mean, we were watching
It was a spectacle.
It was a spectacle. We were watching the most ridiculous but entertaining debates we'd ever seen.
Indeed.
It was hard not to talk about that. And people would come up to me, and it would play out the exact same way every time, which is, oh, man, we don't have any good candidates. Two people. I don't like either of them. I don't like either of them.
Right.
And I go, yeah, I totally hear you on that. And then immediately I go, what I don't like about Hillary Clinton is, and it's the same idea. Like, you got to stay. When the other human being standing there waiting for a possible criticism is Donald Trump, if you're telling me you don't like either, you got to save a couple stones for that guy.
And
because we all know those stones would be justified. He's even Ben Shapiro's like, this is a wildly incompetent man who's either a criminal or stupid for, many of these cases.
Right.
He said you have two choices with these stories. You're either very stupid and you're making terrible choices as to how you spin something, or you are the criminal they're saying you are. But Fox News and so forth, we're not getting those stones from this guy.
I think it's
and again, I don't
because-
think Ben Shapiro is going to provide those.
And I think it's because, it specifically on that episode, Joe Rogan was a little bit outpaced in being able to control the direction of the interview. Ben Shapiro is very good at holding court. Ben
Right.
Shapiro was really good at starting to...
As is Russell Brand. There are few talkers on this earth like Russell Brand.
Totally true. But Russell Brand was a lot more willing to let Joe Rogan jump in.
100%.
Ben Shapiro was like, I'm going to let this train out of the station, and I'm not going to stop it unless I have to.
Right.
And I think that's maybe why Joe Rogan kind of took a back seat to the dynamo that was Ben Shapiro, because Ben Shapiro can talk. And when I listen to other episodes, because I'm trying to review this podcast as best I can, there was very few times where anything like Ben Shapiro occurred, where Joe Rogan was engaged and didn't seem to be outclassed or outbrained, but still couldn't stop his guests from talking over him.
Right.
And I think Ben Shapiro just was able to dance better than Joe Rogan was. Maybe not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu better.
Maybe. I'll be honest. I don't think Joe Rogan disagreed with most of his
I think that's also
it
part of it.
probably aligns with, if you come in there and go, man, if you got a Y chromosome in every cell of your body, you're a dude. You're a biological male. That's all there is to it. I don't think Joe Rogan's going to push back against it. I think he's like, yeah, dude, I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's true, is that Joe Rogan has a certain air and machismo that he brings to his podcast specifically and everything that he does. And I think that was in full force on the Ben Shapiro episode.
And again, there's that broiness to it. There's no doubt about it.
Did you feel like he was a bro?
Yeah, and I think I've always felt like he was that, kind of a bro dude. Even the stuff, the bow hunting and the living off the grid for a while that he did, all that stuff.
Did he live off the grid? I didn't know
Actually,
that.
I didn't know that either. You may very well be right. I just didn't know.
Or
that.
you maybe just lying about it. Maybe you just made it up.
Potentially.
Either way is
Fake
good.
news.
Well, with my memory, who knows? But yes, I believe there was a point where he was living off the grid with his wife, and I don't know if it was
Oh, you
one
know
kid or
what?
two
You're
kids at a
absolutely
time.
right. You're absolutely right.
It was
That's
like
right.
a whole bear story or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
and
yeah. And actually, for you guys, the one question I had, because obviously I've only listened to these two episodes, I was kind of curious as I was listening to, especially the Ben Shapiro episode, was does he have guests on that do have dramatically conflicting opinions about something, where it's really a debate about a topic as opposed to just a deep dive into a topic that we both have very similar opinions on.
Brenna, I'm going to you on that. Do you know? Because I haven't listened to enough episodes to know if he really pushes back on guests. I mean, other than getting Russell Brand to try to